Hello and welcome to Yoga Basics. I'm Patty, I'll be your instructor. Let's start by taking a comfortable seated posture. You're welcome to come down and sit on the floor. I recommend sitting on something. I'm on some blankets, but you could find a really firm pillow or fold up some towels, or you could sit at the end of a chair. Scoot yourself all the way to the end if you are in a chair and put your feet firmly on the floor. Whatever position you choose, whether the floor or a chair, press down with your sit bones and lift with the crown of your head, finding some extra length through your spine, and then let's find your breath. You'll find your breath first outside of your nose, then you'll feel it in your throat, and then just take a moment and see where else you feel your breath. Welcoming the nourishing, life-giving inhale part of your breath, and relishing the cleansing, life-saving exhale part of your breath. Now let's transition the point of origin of your breath from outside of your nose to down in your belly. And even though we don't really breathe with the belly, in diaphragmatic breathing, it feels like we breathe with the belly because you change the positioning of the diaphragm, allowing your diaphragm to drop as you inhale, and then pulling your diaphragm or your belly in, up, and back as you exhale. Let's do that again, inhaling at the low belly, then the mid and side chest. Keep inhaling, and then allow yourself to exhale, sliding the breath back down. And once more, inhale at the low belly, the mid and side chest, and the upper chest and back. And then exhale the breath back down, but maintain any length that you got off that inhale, drawing the belly back to your spine. And then soften, release technique. And now I invite you to bring your hands to your heart in the prayer position, the Anjali Mudra, the mudra for overcoming obstacles. In this mudra, you're going to press palms together as you pull your shoulders apart, allowing your heart to lift and open. And as you feel your heart lift and open, take a moment and set an intention for yourself. Claim for yourself what it is that you want, physically, such as radiant good health, mentally, wisdom or humor, emotionally, maybe you could claim joy or contentment. Spiritually, if you'd like to claim guidance or connection. Now take just a moment and add your own intentions in silence. And so it is. Blink your eyes open if they were closed. Inhale big. And then sigh it out. Bring your hands down, blink your eyes open, and release your legs if you are on the floor and rock. Jessie will be joining me again today. And we're going to do a standing posture called triangle. So let's roll out the ankles to begin with, making sure we've got some good fluid in the synovial joints of the ankles. That fluid is created through this rolling action. Plus you want to release any tension. And go ahead and go the opposite way, attempting to get your feet to make the biggest circles that they possibly can. Excellent. Now spread your toes, spread your fingers, reach your arms and legs away from yourself. Inhale big, and then exhale and squeeze fingers and toes and arms and legs and belly, and then release the squeeze. Spread toes, spread fingers. Inhale big. And then exhale, squeeze through the fingers and the toes, arms and legs, even your face can squeeze. And then release the squeeze, stretch, spread, inhale. And exhale, squeeze all the muscles to all the bones. And then release and shake it out. So let's go ahead and come to standing. Now Jessie, face me for just a moment. So the position is called triangle, and we're going to open this body up. Open your body up at the hips and at the chest. Triangle is a twisting back bend, so we're going to find that when we get into the posture. We're going to begin with you bringing your left foot forward, and if you're using a mat, place it right in the, let's begin with the right foot forward. Begin with the right foot forward, place it right in the middle of the mat if you're using a mat, and if you're not using a mat, you might want to put shoes on. You don't want your feet to slide. So if you're in socks or if you're on carpet, your feet could slide, and this could be potentially injurious. So if you're not on a sticky mat, go ahead and put on some tennis shoes or something that's got a grip to the foot to keep you safe. So your right foot is forward, and those two middle toes are going to face directly away from you. Then you're going to step your left foot back as far as you comfortably can without actually doing the splits. So if you can go all the way open, don't. In fact, a good rule to follow is to have a foot underneath your wrist. So this foot probably could come back a little bit more. Excellent. Arms down for just a minute, Jessie. So in Trikonasana triangle, the hips are going to be open and the chest is open. So the front of Jesse's body is going to continue to face forward while his right toes face this way and the left toes turn in just a little bit. So you want whatever direction your back knee is facing, these middle toes to be facing in that same direction. Go ahead and put weight on the outer edge of that back foot and on the inner edge of the front foot and draw your low belly in. No more diaphragmatic breathing now. We need to keep the low belly secured so we can keep the low back secured. Now we're going to come into the structural breath where the rib cage expands as you inhale and the rib cage contracts as you exhale, drawing that belly even more firmly in and up. From here, put your left hand on your left hip. Reach your right arm up. From this position, you're going to put the weight in the outer edge of that back foot and you're going to lift that back hip. Without moving the foot, just lift that back hip and reach your right arm forward until the inner thigh on this forward leg says that's enough. That'll be your stopping point. So with this left hip lifting, trying to tip the pelvis a little bit sideways, drawing your forward femur bone back into that hip socket, reaching that right arm until the inside of the right leg says that's all you've got, then place that right hand straight down on your leg, wherever it goes. From here, we're going to build the twisting back bend. So draw your low belly in, and reach your head away from your hips. You're looking for extension first. Then roll your heart towards the ceiling into rotation. Then lift this left arm up and lean back into flexion. We're now in a gentle twisting back bend. Put more weight into your feet. Draw the low belly in, squeezing the muscles to the bones of your legs, of your low pelvis, reaching that aerial arm up, reaching this right arm down, trying to open at the chest. And if your neck is sore, look down to the floor like Jessie is. If your neck is healthy, try to look up at that hand. And while looking up to that hand, if you choose to do it, notice if you close one eye and then close the other eye, if you can still see the hand. And tell yourself one day you'll see that hand with both eyes. You're pushing into your feet. The low belly is drawn in. Your head is reaching away from your hips. You've rotated your heart towards the ceiling. These arms are reaching away from each other so that you're open at the pelvis, you're open at the chest. If you're looking up, you can look up, leaning back into your extended twisting back bend of Trikonasana. Breathe. Allowing that low belly to stay secure. The breath is in the chest. And now to safely come out of the posture, you're going to push into your feet. Inhale here. And as you exhale, draw the belly to your spine and lift the aerial arm so that you lift your torso up and out of the pose and pause. Let your arms come down and just feel. How does it feel on one side of the body versus the other side? Now we're just going to pivot, turning the right toes in, turning the left toes to straight. So these two middle toes follow that forward knee. These two middle toes follow this back knee. The weight is on the outer edge of the back foot, but the inner edge of the front foot. Put your right hand on your hip. With your right hand on your hip, push into the outer edge of that back foot and lift that hip, trying to draw your left thigh more into your hip socket. Pick that left arm up and reach that left hand away from your body. Remember, the weight's in the outer edge of the back foot. The back hip is lifting. You're reaching that left arm forward, trying to draw that left femur bone back into the socket, just a little deeper. And when the inner edge of this left leg says that's all you've got, Then let your hand go straight down to the leg, wherever it falls to the leg. Some of you will be holding your thigh, some will be where Jessie is below the knee. Others of you may have your hand all the way down to your ankle. Once you find that placement, put the weight in your feet, draw more into your feet, draw your low belly in and reach your head away from your hips. This is extension of the spine. Then roll your heart towards the ceiling to find rotation. Lift this right arm up and reach your palm faces away from you, the same direction that your hips and chest are facing, this way. That aerial arm is reaching up, that bottom left arm is reaching down to get some opening at the chest, and you lean back into flexion, finding your back bend. Now don't bring the aerial arm back. The arm is straight out of its socket and it's straight up from that bottom arm. You're trying to lean back with your torso. So the low belly is in, holding firm so that the low back stays safe. Your rib cage expands on the inhale. Your rib cage contracts on the exhale, drawing that belly even more firmly in. If you would like, and your neck is healthy, you can turn and look up at that hand. And if you want to just look down, if you've got a crick in your neck or you've got stuff going on, just keep the head looking down and keep it friendly in the neck. If you do turn and look up, close one eye and then close the other eye and tell yourself one day you'll see that hand with both eyes. Breathing here. The body is squeezing muscles to bones. Feet are pressing more firmly into the floor. It's just chest that's expanding and lifting as you inhale and contracting as you exhale. To come out of this pose safely, push more firmly into your feet. Inhale here. And on the exhale, draw your belly in and reach up with your aerial arm, lifting your torso up and out of the pose. Let your arms come down, pause for a moment and just feel. And then bring your feet back together and turn around and just face me for a moment. We're going to build a Tadasana to end this posture. So those two middle toes face straight away from you. You firm the midline or release the buttocks. If you clench the buttocks, you've dropped the midline muscles of the body. So you release the buttocks to draw up from the midline of the body. Chest is lifting, shoulders are lowering, and take a moment and just tune in to how you feel now in your Tadasana. And now let's come to the upside down portion of today's session. So you'll have some blankets or a block or a really firm pillow to put underneath your hips. So let's come back down to the floor with your knees bent on your back. So your head is down, your knees are bent. Take a moment and just let the floor accept your body. To release any tension that we might have built up into the hips, we're going to do a quick happy baby. So Jessie, draw your knees into your belly. Grabbing the outer edges of your feet, bring the soles of your feet towards the ceiling and let your head and shoulders reach back towards the floor. Let your tailbone try to reach towards the floor as well. And just kind of rock, if you can, side to side. If your tailbone is way up in the air, when you rock, you're going to tip over. And if you tip over, just right yourself back up. But if the tailbone is resting towards the mat, you can get a good rocking motion here, rocking over the kidney and adrenal areas in the back of your body and giving those organs some massage action. Inhale here, and then exhale and release the pose. Bring your feet back down to the mat. So we're going to end with a reclining twist before going into Savasana. From here, you're going to press into your feet and lift your hips. While your hips are in the air, shift them to the right and lower them so hips are offset to the right, left leg straight. Draw your right knee into your belly, pull the right knee and point the left toes, stretching across your pelvic floor area. The bladder, the prostate for some of you down here, you want to keep this area nice and healthy, so we're opening up for a free flow of fluid and energy. Inhale into your stretch, and then exhale that knee across your body, bringing the knee all the way over to the floor or to a pillow or to a block, doing something to keep the lumbar spine, the hips stationary. Then reach this right arm up, stretch it over your head, take a good stretch through the right side body, inhale into your stretch, and exhale and open that arm to a T, palm up. Let the shoulder and the arm be way off the floor if they need to be. When Jessie and I both first started, our arms were way up here, and slowly over time, the arms have opened up. It's just the weight of that arm bone opening up through the clavipectoral sheath of the chest. Gentle, consistent practice. Allow yourself to soften into this shape, maybe turning your head a little bit more to the right as you exhale, letting the surface body release so your belly and your back can soften, your fingers and your feet. Attempting to get the superficial muscles to release so that the deep muscles of the body can engage and make any adjustments that might be needed. Inhale here, and as you exhale, draw your knee into your belly and roll to your back. Feet on the mat and square your hips. Other side. Press into your feet, lift your hips. While your hips are in the air, shift them to the left and lower. Hips are offset to the left. Right leg straight, left knee draws in. Pull that left knee and point the right toes. We're now stretching the opposite angle of the pelvic floor area. Inhale into your stretch. Pulling the knee, pointing the toes. Take another in-breath here. And as you exhale, bring the knee across your body. Get the knee all the way over to the floor or to a block, a book, a blanket. Just keep that knee stationary so that the lumbar spine doesn't move around. Then reach this left arm up, stretch through your left side body. Take a nice good inhale here. And exhale, open that arm to a T, palm up, and turn your head and look down the straight yet levitating arm. In an earlier episode, Jesse needed a blanket for his head because his shoulders were so tight. But in the process of making your sessions, Jesse has opened up his shoulders, and as you can see, his head is nice and balanced on the mat. If you feel like your chin is way up in the air, grab a blanket or something and you can put it under your head. Just don't close the throat area. Keep this open. Allowing your inhale to maybe lift you just a little bit, and allowing your exhale to drop you maybe a little bit deeper into the posture. Soften your face, your fingers, and your feet. Allow your body to just take on this shape. And then inhale. And on the exhale, draw your knees into your belly, roll to your back, feet on the mat, and square your hips. Now, we're going to do just a little bit of upside down work for just a minute or so. So if you find your blankets or your pillow, you're going to put them underneath your low back and hips. I'll do it for you. Press into your feet, lift your hips. While your hips are in the air, get hold of your blankets or whatever you've got that you can rest your low back on. Then draw your knees into your belly. And if the low back feels comfortable, let your legs go up. If the low back feels a little pinchy, just bring your feet back down and make another adjustment, going upside down. There's a fluid in the body called lymph fluid. Now, your heart pumps your blood. Pretty much no matter what position you get into, the heart's going to go ahead and pump the blood to it. Now, the blood is being cleansed by a fluid called lymph fluid. You're the pump for the lymph fluid. The lymph fluid follows through, cleansing out viruses, bacteria, metabolic waste, other toxins from the blood, keeping us very healthy. The lymph fluid is a huge player in our immune system. But the lymph fluid only moves when we move. And when the body's been still for a while, something triggers it to get a little twitchy, to start moving so that that lymph fluid can move through the blood. One of the best ways to move the lymph fluid is by going upside down and putting your feet above your head. We've also put the hips just a little bit above the heart. So we've changed the aspect of gravity on the inside of the body, allowing things that normally get pushed on to gently get pulled on, like the valves that are in the veins. These valves allow the blood to work its way back to the heart a little bit at a time. When a valve fails, we call that a varicose vein. So instead of allowing that to happen, get your feet above your head on a regular basis. You could probably put your feet above your head once a day and be very healthy because of it. You'd also be very refreshed. When the lymph fluid is refreshed in the body, you feel better. And that's kind of what we're all looking for, isn't it? All right. So you're welcome to have some movement while you're upside down. You can spread and clench toes, you can flutter your feet, squeeze muscles to the bones or release. Just something to think about, that squeezing and releasing or soaking action that your yoga practice gives you. Moving fluid through the tissue to keep it as healthy as possible. All right, inhale here. And as you exhale, bring your feet down to the mat. Press into your feet and lift your hips. While your hips are in the air, go ahead and take the blankets or whatever you might have been resting on out from under your hips, and then bring your hips back down to the mat. So we're going to come in to one of the most important poses in yoga, your Savasana. In your Savasana, if you need support for your head and knees, you can find it. Remember, don't close at the throat. But I think Jesse's good to have a flat Savasana today. Let's do a squeeze. So bring your knees into your belly. Wrap your arms around your legs. Inhale here. And exhale, squeeze yourself into a tiny ball. Pull the belly back. Tuck the chin. Then loosen. Inhale. Exhale, squeeze. Pull that belly back to your spine. Then loosen. Inhale. Exhale, squeeze. Pull the belly. Tuck the chin. It's final internal massage. And then release. And now let your legs go long. Rock your hips side to side until your low back gets comfortable. Let your upper back flatten. Whatever you have to do to get the upper back flat. Your toes splay open and your palms face up. Gently tuck your chin so that you get a little length in your neck. Coming in to your Savasana. Now your Savasana is called corpse pose. It's got a creepy name, but the ancients decided to call it that because they noticed that the practice of this posture enabled you to release old and adopt new. So you die to what was so that you can live to what will be. So in your Savasana, you want to let go of everything, and this will trigger a system within your brain, the limbic system. And this system will start to release old cellular patterns of behavior and will adopt new patterns based on what you just taught yourself. So every Savasana gives you a new baseline from which to work. In your Savasana, you want to relax completely. Let your toes soften, let your thighs release, let your belly soften. Release your chest. Imagine that your heart lifts, but your shoulders lower, melting your shoulders all the way down your arms, pretending that your palms feel like puddles. Swallow, releasing through your throat, letting the skin on your cheeks go slack. Allow your tongue to rest gently in the back of your mouth, releasing any conversation with yourself and instead tuning into observation of yourself. Observe as you allow your tongue to spread side to side. Soften your face. Bring your gaze inward. Be brave, release the grip of your brain, letting it rest gently in the back of your skull. Let your skull widen and spread on the mat or the blanket. Find your front body, and in its entirety, let it melt to your back body. Let your back body then melt all the way into the floor, into the ground. Take one more moment and allow your mind to roam with awe and fascination through the various vibrations of you. And then deepen your breathing, wiggle fingers and toes, make circles with your wrists and your ankles one way and then the other. And then reach your arms over your head and stretch your fingers away from your feet, make space, and release. Draw your knees into your belly and roll to your right side. Make a pillow for your head with your right arm. Pause here while your body transitions. And take this moment and thank yourself for your practice. Inhale. And on the exhale, use mostly the strength of your left arm to gently press yourself up, coming into any seated posture that you'd like to be in. Just bring your hands back to your heart. Let your heart lift and open, and this time bow your head into the lifting and opening actions. And take this moment to honor the truth, the light, and the wisdom existing within every cell of your body. May you be peaceful. May you experience poise, equanimity, and abundance. May you be well. Namaste.